The afternoon crowd buzzed through the glass doors of Silvercrest Mall, a place that prided itself on gleaming floors, luxury storefronts, and a self-proclaimed atmosphere of exclusivity. Most people came here to be seen as much as to shop, and that's exactly why Martin, the store clerk at one of the high-end boutiques, loved working there. To him, customers weren't equals, they were prey. He looked at their shoes, their jewelry, the way they carried themselves, and he decided in seconds whether they deserved his attention or his disdain. That's why when the old woman walked in that day, shuffling slowly with a cane, her coat plain and weathered, Martin's lips curled in mock amusement. She didn't belong here, not in his polished store with its glittering displays and wrecks of overpriced fashion. "Excuse me, young man," her voice was soft but steady. "Could you help me find something in a size?" Martin raised a hand, cutting her off before she could finish. His voice rose, sharp enough for nearby shoppers to hear. "Ma'am, I think you're lost. The discount outlet is 3 blocks down. We don't carry bargain racks here." A few bystanders chuckled awkwardly, eyes darting between the woman and the clerk. The old woman didn't flinch. She simply regarded him with a long, quiet look, the kind of look that made the laughter die in throats. But Martin, drunk on his own arrogance, smirked wider. "You're blocking paying customers," he continued, folding his arms. "Why don't you save yourself the embarrassment?" Someone whispered, "That was cruel," but no one stepped forward. In Silvercrest Mall, people liked to watch, but rarely interfered. The old woman sighed, nodded once, and slowly walked toward the exit. Her cane tapped rhythmically against the polished floor. For Martin, it was a victory. He relished the looks of discomfort on the other shoppers' faces. He had proved he controlled the stage. But then, not 5 minutes later, everything began to change. A voice crackled over the mall speakers, clear and commanding. "Attention, all guests and staff. Please remain where you are. We will be making a special announcement." Confused murmurs spread. Shoppers paused mid-step. Store managers leaned over counters. Even the music playing faintly in the background cut out. And then, silence. The old woman, who had only just reached the central atrium, stepped into the middle of the vast marble floor. Security guards appeared, not to escort her out, but to stand at her sides like a protective honor guard. People gasped. Martin's smirk faltered. The woman raised her head, and though her voice was not loud, it carried with the weight of authority. "I came today to see how my staff treated strangers, to test the kindness of those who claim to serve. I was not impressed." Gasps erupted. The crowd leaned forward, waiting, their disbelief hanging heavy in the air. The woman continued, her voice firm now. "My name is Margaret Holloway, and as of last week, I am the majority shareholder of Silvercrest Mall. Every shop, every floor, every contract, you are all standing in what I now own." The atrium fell silent. Even the fountain seemed to hush. People blinked, mouths slightly open. Martin's face drained of color. "From this moment forward," Margaret declared, "politeness, dignity, and respect are not optional. They are the foundation upon which this place will stand. Anyone who cannot uphold those values has no place here." Her words hit harder than any shout. Managers from several stores rushed to the railings above, staring down in shock. Some nodded in approval, others whispered in panic. Margaret didn't waver. She gestured subtly, and the head of mall security stepped forward with a clipboard. "This," she said, "is the new code of conduct. Staff who mock, belittle, or humiliate customers will face consequences, effective immediately." Now every eye turned back to Martin. He looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. His earlier arrogance had curdled into pure fear. Martin's gaze locked on him, cold but calm. "You," she said, her voice quiet, yet cutting through the entire hall, "forgot that humanity is not measured by handbags or watches. You mocked age, you mocked humility, and you mocked me." The crowd erupted in whispers. Phones were raised, recording every second. Martin stammered, I didn't know. Margaret raised her hand, silencing him. Ignorance of respect is no excuse. Pack your things. You're finished here. The boutique's manager rushed out, face pale. Miss Holloway, please. He doesn't represent. Then let him be the first lesson, Margaret said, her tone unyielding. The era of arrogance in Silvercrest is over. And with that, Martin was escorted out in front of everyone. His humiliation was absolute, a reversal so sharp that even those who had pitied the old woman earlier now felt a strange satisfaction. Karma had arrived, swift and public. But Margaret wasn't done. Nope, her plan ran far deeper than a single act of justice. Silvercrest Mall had long been known for elitism, for treating wealth as a substitute for humanity, and she had just declared war on that culture. The crowd, still reeling, began to buzz with anticipation. Some clapped softly, others whispered to each other about the woman who had revealed herself not as a helpless senior, but as the most powerful figure in the building. The mall had frozen in awe, but this was only the beginning. Margaret had come with more than a speech. She had come to turn an empire upside down, one act of justice at a time.
The silence that followed Martin's removal lingered in the air like smoke after a fire. Shoppers whispered, employees exchanged nervous glances, and every manager on the mezzanine looked as if the ground had shifted beneath their feet. The mall had always been a place of luxury and spectacle, but never had it been a place of accountability. Until now. Margaret Holloway, cane in hand, stood tall in the atrium. Though age had etched lines across her face, the authority in her bearing was undeniable. The same people who had dismissed her minutes ago now watched with reverence. The old woman they had underestimated had become the ruler of their world. Her voice was calm but commanding. For too long, she began, this place has thrived on arrogance. Staff who sneer at the poor, customers who measure worth in brands, owners who see workers as disposable tools. That era is over. From this day forward, Silvercrest Mall will not just sell products, it will sell dignity, fairness, and respect. The declaration was met with applause, tentative at first, then swelling as more people joined. But behind the clapping were whispers, doubts, even resentment. Not everyone welcomed change. Over the following days, Margaret's presence became unavoidable. She toured every store, sometimes unannounced, cane tapping against the tile as she moved with quiet authority. Employees scrambled to adjust. Some smiled more genuinely at customers, eager to prove they had always been kind. Others, like Martin, were quickly exposed. In one electronics store, a salesman was overheard mocking a father for asking about installment payments. Within hours, he was gone. In a luxury jewelry shop, Margaret observed an assistant ignoring a young woman in simple clothes, only to fawn over another draped in designer labels. That assistant soon found herself replaced. But it wasn't only punishment. Margaret rewarded as fiercely as she punished. She praised the janitor who stopped to help a lost child find her mother, gifting him a scholarship fund for his daughter's college. She promoted a cashier who treated every shopper with warmth, regardless of their purchase. Slowly, respect became the new currency of Silvercrest Mall. And yet Margaret knew her battle wasn't just with employees. The poison ran deeper. It was in the very culture of the mall, cultivated by landlords and shareholders who valued profit over humanity. At the next shareholders' meeting, the board sat smug and polished around a glossy oak table. They expected Martin, the eccentric widow with money, to play figurehead. Instead, she laid out her vision. Silvercrest will not be a palace for arrogance. It will be a marketplace for all. Prices will adjust, community programs will be funded, and partnerships with local artisans will replace exclusive contracts with corporations that thrive on exploitation. The board erupted in protest. "You'll ruin the prestige," one man barked. "You'll scare away our luxury clientele," another snapped. Margaret leaned forward, her cane resting beside her chair. "Prestige built on cruelty is rot wearing perfume. If you cannot stand with me, you are welcome to leave. I control the majority. Your votes are smoke against a storm." The silence that followed was thick, bitter, and unbreakable. One by one, the board members realized resistance was useless. Margaret had already won. Word of the transformation spread like wildfire. News outlets ran headlines, "Elderly woman transforms Silvercrest Mall into beacon of respect." And "From mockery to mastery, the woman who owns it all." Social media buzzed with clips of her speech in the atrium. Shoppers who once avoided the mall now came to see what made it different. But Margaret had not forgotten the moment that started it all. Martin's arrogance, the chuckles of bystanders, the way silence had hung heavy when she was mocked. That moment was seared into her. It wasn't just about one clerk, it was about every unseen person who had ever been disrespected. So she created a program called the Holloway Initiative, a policy requiring every store to dedicate one day a month to serving underprivileged families at discounted rates. Proceeds funded scholarships, shelters, and food programs. Employees grumbled at first, but when they saw children leaving with smiles and parents clutching bags of essentials they could finally afford, something shifted. The mall wasn't just a marketplace anymore. It was a lifeline. As months passed, Silvercrest Mall's reputation changed. No longer was it a monument to vanity. It became a symbol of justice, where kindness was enforced as strictly as security. People traveled from other towns just to experience it. And in every corner, whispers of Margaret Holloway's name carried weight. But the story of revenge remained etched in memory. Those who had been there that day in the boutique never forgot the look on Martin's face when he realized the truth. Never forgot the hush that fell when Margaret revealed she owned everything. One evening, as the mall prepared to close, Margaret sat quietly in the atrium. The fountains glowed under soft lights, families strolled past laughing, and employees smiled as they packed up. A young woman approached hesitantly. "Miss Holloway?" she asked. "I was here that day, when that clerk mocked you." Margaret nodded, her eyes kind. "Yes, child." The woman's voice trembled. I laughed, not loudly, but I didn't defend you. I felt ashamed ever since." Margaret's gaze softened. She reached out, resting a frail but steady hand on the woman's arm. "Do not regret silence. Learn from it. Today, if you see someone treated poorly, you will speak. That is your redemption." The woman's eyes welled with tears. "I will. I promise." Margaret smiled faintly. "Then my work is done." Her cane tapped once against the floor, steady and sure. The mall around her glowed with life, not arrogance. The empire she had inherited through money, she had reforged with justice. The arrogant clerk who mocked her thought her powerless. The crowd thought her ordinary. But Margaret Holloway had proved them all wrong. She had shown that the most underestimated soul could wield the greatest power. And in the heart of Silvercrest Mall, respect reigned. For some, it was karma. For others, it was revenge. But for everyone, it was unforgettable.